Now, with the remaining time, and I want to make this a little bit of a shorter episode, so I won't, if warranted, if people want to hear my extended thoughts on the Batman, I'll make a separate video at certain points, at some point. But over the next 10 minutes or so, I just wanted to talk about the Batman, the movie, the Batman. This is going to be full spoilers, so if you haven't seen the Batman, click off, and I'm not going to be going beat by beat. I'm just going to be talking about my spoiler thoughts for the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. What did I think about the Batman? I think the more I think about it, the more I like it. I've only seen it once, and I plan on seeing it again probably this week. But I think it's a great Batman movie. I don't know if I think it's a good movie, a really good movie. I think it's a great Batman movie. I also think it's about half an hour too long. And I think even if you love this movie, I think that's something that you can't deny. That certain elements felt like they were dragged on a little too far. And we'll kind of get into that. But like for example, I think at a certain point in the movie, we'll talk about the climax later, but in the middle of the movie, I actually forgot that the Riddler was there, because the movie shifted focus heavily onto Carmine Falcone, or Falcone or whatever. Falcone, they call it in the movie. And I think that's fine, But I think that the pacing was a little off to where in a 3-hour movie, like they spent about an hour on Carmine Falcone, and then they went back to the Riddler, who killed him eventually. And that's fine. Yeah, I actually forgot the Riddler was in the movie for a while. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Paul Dano's performance was obviously fantastic. I think that his scene in Arkham with Batman was great. To kind of have him captured, I'm sort of going back and forth on the finale, though, of having him captured and not being in the rest of the movie, but also kind of having these like multiple Riddler-esque people kind of showing the power that his words have, the power that Gotham's fear has. I think that's a powerful message. I just kind of wish that he had a way of being more present at the end of the film. So there's that. But overall, I thought Paul Dano was a fantastic villain. I think the riddles were really fun. There were certain things I didn't catch even the first time around when they explained them, so I'm excited to go back and knowing kind of what's coming up to be able to dissect this film. But going back to the villains, I think that, on an aside, I think that Oswald Cobblepot, that's another tongue twister, played brilliantly by Colin Farrell, was used, I think, just about the right amount, but also like teetering on the edge of what is he like being in the film a little too much to be like what's the point of him being in the film, other than just to introduce him for his own spin-off show. But the other thing that really kind of bugged me a little bit about the movie, I keep saying show, we've been talking about shows for the episode, but is really Carmine Falcone's relationship with Catwoman. Because look, I respect that they were trying to add this extra layer. I feel like that's one storyline that should have been cut out, though, entirely, is Catwoman's relationship with Carmine Falcone being her father. I think it's enough that Bruce Wayne has his own tragedy and trauma with Carmine Falcone, who, I forget, did he call the hit on Bruce's parents? Anyways, but that whole trauma of that just being with Batman, I think is so much more interesting than whatever they did with Catwoman. I think Zoe Kravitz did a great job as Catwoman. I just don't think her character was super necessary at times, and it was only necessary because her father was Carmine Falcone, and even then it was like, but that didn't even need to be in the movie. I don't know. I liked the dynamic. She didn't feel super necessary to me in the movie. I also don't think that, Penguin was super necessary in the movie. I'm glad that they were there. I think there, like I was saying, there are certain elements of the movie that I go, did that really need to be there? I don't know. But that, honestly, okay. The one other complaint I have about the movie, and then I promise that's basically it. I might think of some nitpicks here and there, but no, that's about it. Is Bruce Wayne, and this isn't really even a negative. This is me just saying that this film didn't focus on Bruce Wayne, didn't choose to, and it is the Batman. That being said, I think that Pattinson's performance as Batman and as this sort of recluse Bruce Wayne was really good. I'd also be interested to see his take on a more philanthropic, billionaire, playboy Bruce Wayne, which this movie didn't need, by the way. This movie did not need. I want to make that clear. But I also just think that maybe in future movies, whether you're dealing with Hush or the Joker, which I guess that's the other thing it's not a negative. We'll talk about that in just a second. But anyways, yeah, I think that to even more elevate the performance of Bruce Wayne, this haunted sort of figure, to emerge from the shadows is sort of trying to put on a public face now that he understands Gotham City needs hope, would be really interesting. I guess the very last thing that I will say for now about negatives is that that Joker scene, a lot of people keep saying that's the one thing I wish they didn't put in the movie. I'm fine with that being in the movie. I just wish it was in the credit scene. It was a credit scene, I don't understand why it wasn't a credit scene. It perfectly fit as a credit scene. So anyways, all that aside, what I loved about this movie was the sound design. And I know that's a weird thing to start off with, but Batman's footsteps in this movie were everything. Just hearing him come out of the shadows and creep forward and stalk forward and just stand there. Brilliant. The car chase had some of the best sound design of a car chase I've seen in a long time, if ever, honestly. And just the tactile feel of Batman is something that we didn't get with Ben Affleck, and dare I say we didn't get that much with Christian Bale. Christian Bale's Batsuit kind of feels a little bit more not lightweight, but a little lighter than the Robert Pattinson suit. Which again, both serve their purposes in their franchises and their films. But Batman, this is my favorite Batman suit, I think, easily. It's fantastic. I love the supporting actors. Paul Dano, like I said, Jeffrey Wright as Gordon. I think Alfred Serkis, Andy Serkis does a good job as Alfred. I think obviously Zoe Kravitz did a great job. Colin Farrell did a good job. Am I forgetting somebody? John Turturro did a good job as Carmine Falcone. Performances were great. The lighting, the visuals, stunning. In a dark way. Like, it's not stunning in the poppy, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of visual way, or the Eternals kind of way where you're on landscapes and you're in Babylon and you're whatever. This was obviously Gotham, and people have said this. I'm not going to rehash too many things, but just to say that Gotham City itself was beautiful in a dark, kind of twisted way, in a fallen way. And I love that about the movie. I also think it's interesting the parallels between Paul Dano's Riddler being an orphan and Bruce Wayne's Batman being an orphan. I think that was a cool connection there that they made. Because again, I think that even if you have a psychopath serial killer, you gotta. It's fine enough to have just a serial killer, but I love villains with motivations. I love villains who are thinking, have reasons for acting the way that they do, other than just randomly chaotic. It works in terms of like the Joker, but I think the Riddler with Project Renewal, feeling left out of society was just a great touch. But what I loved most about this film is that Batman has an arc, and I know he has arcs in the Dark Knight trilogy. Kind of going from this sort of hurt, vengeful character in Batman Begins to the hero of Gotham City in its own way. In the Dark Knight, sort of going from like hero of the city to being selfless and making himself sort of the face of the evil that went on with Harvey Dent and stuff. Dark Knight Rises maybe a little less so. He makes a sacrifice at the end of the movie. But this movie, what it was saying about Batman, I thought was so impressive. I thought it was so impressive because the beginning of the movie, I'm vengeance, comes back later in the movie in a perfect scene where he sees this Riddler criminal say, I'm vengeance, and he realizes the look on Pattinson's face is like, oh, I did that. I inspired that. Oh no, like that was me. And I think that's brilliant. I think that is absolutely brilliant that they did that. And I to go from that vengeance to then hope at the end in a very organic, real way is really one of the strengths of this movie. I think it is really one of the things that this movie does exceptionally well. Is show a character progression of Batman to where you're excited to see where this new Batman is going to go in the future. I think Pattinson has room to even improve upon a great performance already. I think Matt Reeves has things to improve upon. I get that 3 hours movies don't have to be short or long, or they can be whatever they want. I just think that this particular movie, unlike a Dune, unlike a Endgame, just didn't really. Could have been at least 15 minutes shorter, if not half an hour. But no, this movie is fantastic, and I can't wait to see it again. Hopefully sometime soon.